Welcome to season 3 of Tres Leches Radio. As always, representing 1/3 of the trio, it's your main scout, Brad Soul. Gentlemen, where you at? Say hello.
Yo, we in here, Tres 3. What up?
As always, the guy Renzmatic, what it do?
Renzo's like, I'm gonna talk lower. I'm gonna calm everyone down. He's like, we were peaking, and he just said, all right, I'm gonna bring everyone down to line level. So
Relax.
we made it to season 3, guys. We haven't gone the route of a Tribe Called Quest, so that's for anybody not paying attention. He just went and did his own thing. Anyway, please remember you can find us at Tres Leches Radio. Anything that's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and if you like our voices better than our faces, you can stream us on Amazon Music and Spotify. Lastly, remember this content is intended for audiences 18 and up because we might curse and shit. So, B-Stacks, I'm gonna let you do the honors here.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. So this next guest, our first guest for season 3, I've had the pleasure of knowing him since 0 years old. Pretty impossible.
You got the time stone, damn.
He does it for hip hop. Sometimes he may feel like a black Republican, but the Cushion Corinthians might have got him through. 2-time Grammy nominated producer, my first cousin from the Coleman clan, and the 2018 Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl champion, Mr. Wyldfyer.
Let's give a Tres Leches warm welcome.
What's going on, fellas?
Yo, thank you for joining us on this, man. We pretty much figured you'd be an expert on today's topic. Brandon just set you up nicely. So
couldn't forget about the birds, man. Couldn't forget about me.
2017 though, but we'll take that.
Yeah.
He's fact checking.
Yeah. 17. Damn. COVID.
So to anyone listening, and I wanted to add this in. And I've had this conversation with them like off the camera and stuff. The interesting thing about what has led us to this moment now is if you go back in time, not quite to 0, but you go back to 06. I have the Hip Hop Is Dead, the Nas's Hip Hop Is Dead CD. I still buy CDs, by the way. I'm not gonna lie. I have the book. I'm flipping through the booklet. I always like to look at production credits. I wanted to know who produced Black Republican. I see is Wyldfyer. Never to that point I had never heard of this producer. I just I like the beat. You also did, I want to say, Money Over Bullshit on that one. I want to say.
Sir.
Okay, yeah, I'm going off the top here. Yeah, so.
Yep.
Fast forward to 08, and actually in 06, right? Like I see your name in the booklets. I still haven't met Brandon. He might have been somewhere jamming the blunt ashes. I heard. I don't know. I don't know what he was doing in 06. So you fast forward to 08. Once again, I'm looking at the production credits of Ludacris's Theater of the Mind, and Wyldfyer, you're like on 2 or 3 of them. I know you got to Do It for Hip Hop. And you got Last of a Dying Breed. Yep. And again, those are like 2 of my 5 favorite songs. So again, I still have not met Brandon yet. I've known Renzo this whole time. And then you fast forward to 2011-12. I meet Brandon through Renzo. I think it was at one of the Roots picnics.
Yeah, Roots picnic, yeah.
And then at one of these, one day we're at Brandon's house, says he has a cousin that produces. I'm like, oh, what's his name? It says Wyldfyer. And I was just like, that's never happened to me. You know what I mean? Like I just stopped dead in my tracks. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I wanted to give that backgrounder so that, it's interesting because you and Brandon are cousins, but like the weird, like, I don't know if it's 6 degrees of separation is how I discovered you and how we all, like, this is happening because of all that. Like, I know Renzo. Without Renzo, I don't meet Brandon, and then without Brandon, I never like get to formally meet you. So that's the 6 degrees of separation of today. So
that's what's up, man.
Yeah, so that's what makes today kind of dope. And I say everything to say I genuinely enjoy the music that you've put out. You've never made the same beat twice from what I've heard. And again, I think I felt you'd be an ideal expert on today's show. So with all that out the way, one of the first things I want to ask you is you've worked with A-listers and you've worked with very well-known independent acts. So I'm gonna go somewhere here.
Okay.
Which acts? So first off, which acts of everybody you produced with? Who were you actually able to be in the studio with? Because I know we're in an internet era where it's not always studio. So were you able to be in the studio with any of the in the mainstream or the independent acts?
Yeah, I mean, you probably get in the studio with the independent acts more because, you know, they're interested in getting in, building a vibe and all that good stuff. But I mean, I was in with Kendrick. I mean, more so in the earlier days. I've been in with Nas. I wasn't there the day they made Black Republican, but you know, the story goes, it's really crazy how the story goes. Who else? Been in with Luda.
Luda.
Yep, been in with like, so right now working with Luke, signed to Dreamville. So been in, you know, been in with him.
He has a dope project that came out last year. I heard it.
Absolutely, absolutely, and he's still working. So
Nice.
you know, it's a mix. I don't think I've gotten a placement from anybody that I've just emailed. I had to go back and check.
Oh wow.
All right.
There's been some type of relationship or some type of vibe or somebody in common. You know what I'm saying? Like I look up to Focus is a real dope producer, and I've met some people through him. Like the stuff with Chino XL was through Focus, and you know Chino was in LA, so we were just bouncing ideas back and forth across the country, stuff like that. Maybe Punch, got some stuff with Punch, and I didn't get in with Punch, but I've been in with Punch before by being in with Kendrick and J-Rock. So you know,
nice.
That's fam. You know what I mean? So.
And would you say of like up to this point with the different caliber of you know artists you've worked with and you've been able to like be in the studio with them, who you know one I would say who did you feel you had the best chemistry with, and what would, and if so, like what is it that you feel makes great chemistry between like the artist and the producer, like in your experience?
I say I had the best chemistry with Kendrick. And it's really because when we started speaking, we had a lot in common.
Wow.
So like the first conversation, we kind of went to the side, and one of my homeboys just started playing some beats at the time for J-Rock, and we were just talking, you know, about our backgrounds, you know, where we're from, what we're about, our family background. We got a lot in common in terms of, you know, I put it like this. I mean, I don't want to put too much out there, but our dads are from North Philly. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, you know, and there's a lot of them. So they from the streets of North Philly. You know what I'm saying? But one thing I can say that me and Kendrick had in common, and me and Brandon probably got in common too, like we didn't have to go that route because they grew up in that route, and they made sure that we got out and did better things. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so that was something that Kendrick also mentioned, like, so he's got family from, you know, Chicago, you know, California, and, you know, a lot of cats may be involved in street life or from the street life, but he was always the one that they kind of kept away from that.
Right.
And started vibing. We kind of started vibing on that. And we talked about some of the spiritual stuff and, you know, all kinds of stuff. So we just really vibed and clicked naturally.
So it was because it's even before the music, it's just who you were as people allowed for like that comfort level, that vibe. So when you're going to do like a Cushion Corinthians, or even, I know you did like, I want to say Average Joe, you know, it's kind of effortless. There's a comfort level there.
Right, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. And I would say now this is more of like a free for all. I would, who would you say, like, you as a producer, right? Like everybody has influences and stuff, but what are some of the best examples you feel you've seen of like just throughout the years of like rapper producer chemistry? Like who do you listen to and be like, yo, they mesh very well together, especially because you have a more meticulous ear as a producer. And this is, you know, I'm like, anyone can answer this, but I'll just start with you. Like who, you know, who are the good chemistry based pairings that you've heard?
Yeah, it is, to be honest, it's probably a little more mainstream. So I always say like Hove and Timberland, or Hove and the Neptunes.
Yeah.
Because they just had a real organic synergy, you know what I'm saying? It almost seemed like it got to a point where Pharrell, for example, would bring in something and he would even already know how Hove was going to write the beat. You know what I'm saying? And he would come in and then they would kind of capture it and then they'd just go crazy and end up making hits that we've heard of, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, they got a nice track.
You know, so I would say them on a mainstream. I mean, I'm a Tribe fan.
Oh yes.
So obviously
that's why nobody liked my Tribe joke I made before.
Of course. Dilla, cousin of Tribe.
You know, Dilla and Uma. So You know, obviously I wasn't there. From what I understand, when they had the UMA, which was you know, Dilla and actually, you know, Tribe, and I think even Erykah Badu may have been part of it. I'm not sure, but
maybe
from what I understand,
Questlove too. Yeah, it was a couple of them. They were like, yeah,
Aquarius, yeah.
yeah, that's yeah.
And Ali Shaheed Muhammad was part of it. So from what I understand, their vibe, their chemistry was crazy.
Well, we got like Water for Chocolate out of it, right? Like, so
there you go. So
yeah. And what about and just in general, right? So like, so you guys, right? Like Brandon, like just right. We all at the end of the day, we're all fans, right? What are some other like examples you guys like of just over the years, 80s, 90s, 2000s, no matter, of just like excellent pairings in hip hop that you guys have come across?
So first of all, for me, you know, I got to shout out Ninth Wonder and Buckshot because they are kind of the newer generation of producer rapper. Definitely that spawned this episode that chemistry episode. They got 3 albums together.
Yeah, it's a trilogy. Yeah,
and I feel like we'll talk about them throughout this episode. And another shout out I got to give to is producer DJ Marley Marl, because I feel like he was the first super producer that was actually like getting in with Shan and G-Rap and Kane and Roxanne, LL Later, like Craig G, you know, directly connecting with artists to put out project material, where it was actually licensed, where you're checking for a DJ and a producer and a rapper, excuse me. So I gotta just, before I even give picks, I gotta give those 2 entities some love real fast.
Props before preference.
Yep. Yes, sir.
even though they may make the same list, right? Like, so.
Word.
Marley Marl was my first favorite producer. I didn't know what producer was, but I started reading the credits and I was like, yo.
Because he did Symphony, right?
Yeah.
He did Symphony, right? Then like that deep
Daddy Kane and
Oh yeah. But the actual projects I had in my head was I really wanted to go left field, something that y'all wouldn't even think of or pick. So I went with like 95 Group Home and Premiere.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that is the most New York album, you know, allegedly, debatedly, you know, it's so New York. And Group Home, they're not the best MCs, but it just felt like they understood what they needed to do, you know, D&D Studios, Premiere, laying the tracks. It's just, it's a classic album with no like classic actual bars.
It doesn't get the parade that other classic albums does. And that, but you pointed out, like, that's the critique I always hear. It's just like, yo, like some people be like, damn, Primo gave them all these beats. Like, I've heard that, but at the same time, I also hear people say it's like it's a classic that don't get enough attention.
Yeah, and they wrote it well, right? You don't have to be a Biggie or a Jay or a Guru. Sometimes it's just they have that like fluidity. And then my second example, I went I went another coast down south. I went Outkast's last album, you know, Speaker Box and Love Below. Good Lord, I mean, that's chemistry on drugs. Like they put out 2 different projects and say we're gonna compile it to one. I mean, if that ain't chemistry, I don't know what is. You know, it's a host of producers that
careers.
You're gonna make me change my answer, man.
It's cool, man. We do this. You the guest. You know what I mean? You sit back.
Man, you got to be in the studio with legends, bro. You won this whole like conversation.
Right. You already won. You already home. You already home. Jay-Z.
I'm totally gonna have a stand moment. You got to produce Black Republican, bro. Like the first post Jay and Nas like beef record. You won. Like you won forever. And that's not all I'm summing your career up to, by the way. I'm just pointing that one.
Yeah, no, it's a blessing, man. It's strange to have that as your first placement. I talk about this on Twitter sometimes because you're like, where do you go from there? You know what I'm saying?
I saw the Cole and Kendrick tweet, perhaps.
Cole and Kendrick is about where you can go from there. You know, they're 2 of the top 3, you know, right now. And so the difference is they didn't have a history of, you know, beef and all those things. So I always kind of look at Black Republican as it was the song that brought those 2 together. And so that's why I'm like, I look at it like a trilogy, and then I'm just like, y'all, and then the conversations that I had with them about the song, you know, how they were inspired. I was like, wow, okay, thank you. You know, so that's cool. But I was gonna say, Brandon, you made me think, man, gosh, Organized Noise. I might have to change my name to them. And both the Attic Crew and the Dungeon Family gets mixed in there too. Organized Noise came with so much stuff before we even knew who they were. The Goody Mob stuff, the Outkast stuff. When you brought up Outkast, I thought that's where you were going.
Yeah. I had, and honestly, I went Speaker Box and Love Below because it was just so different, you know. And I feel like that's chemistry on steroids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yin and yang, those two. Yeah, and it works.
Yeah. What you got for us, Zoda God?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'll go with some of the ones that are like plain, and but I also look at a couple other items. But like one thing that when you mentioned about Marley Marl made me think about Bomb Squad, you know, Public Enemy, the stuff they were doing, like Nation Millions, Hold Us Back, but even what they did with Cube, you know, America Most Wanted, because Cube, when he couldn't get Dre, he said, I wanted really the best producers outside of Dre, and how Dre would try to emulate them then. And, you know, fit in that pocket, knowing how to match his voice with that type of production, especially back then, they were, you know, they might sample like 20, 30 different segments in a song, you know, and just did it so seamlessly.
Right.
So seeing stuff like that, I mean, but we're talking about like obvious stuff. I mean, you gotta look at Doggy Style, you know, Snoops and Dre, they're just their chemistry, even going back from the Chronic.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, crazy. I
mean, it's just a standalone album. We talk about like the Illmatics and the Reasonable Doubts, but like Doggy Style, like there's not many albums can touch that sonically, and just the chemistry that Dre and Snoop have, you know, which was honestly a gift or curse of Snoop. You know,
he ain't never topped that album since.
You know,
like he has other enjoyable albums, but he never comes close to Doggy Style.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, and then one other one that came to mind, and it's kind of weird because now they're a group, but they started off this as a one-off project, was, you know, Run the Jewels, but essentially before Run the Jewels, remember Killer Mike had rap music with LP produced. And up until that point, you know, LP obviously, not LP, Killer Mike, Dungeon Family, Outkast of Philly, but I never felt like he had the right producers, the right pocket. When rap music came out, I'm like, okay, he finally has a sound and a direction. And that direction came so tight knit, then they became a duo. You know, he didn't even want to drop solo albums anymore. That's how much that chemistry said. He said, I don't need to drop solo albums anymore. He said, everything I'm doing is gonna be Running Jewels now. You know, and LP still doing all the production. So those are kind of two that kind of come to mind. But as you mentioned, like Organized Noise and, you know, and everybody else, Marley Marl. I mean, we're just talking about this, you know, composers knowing how to work with an artist to craft something. That kind of goes the difference between a beat maker and a producer. You know what I mean? Anybody can make a beat, but can you actually produce something that can stand the test of time? You know, and a lot of people can't say that. You know, especially if they're doing a whole album. You know.
Yeah, and it's almost like having that chemistry, like a Doggy Style or something. It's almost like the what's it called? It's like a tailor, like your own personal tailor who can create that suit that is only for you to wear. Like it only matches like you know what I'm saying? Right. Like that's what it seems like. Or it's also like a Marvel reference, right? Like only, well, up to a certain point, only Thor could pick up the hammer, right? Like it's, you know, I know it's not a hammer, it's like Majolan. I'm not like a Marvel guy, but yeah, so it almost seems like there has to, and there's a little bit, I think there's a little bit of magic there. And speaking of magic, part of what triggered this episode was late career Nas, like the chemistry he's having with Hit Boy, you know what I mean? And Magic came out, I think it might have been a month. You know what I'm saying? So like that was what triggered, like, you know, like we're seeing like, yo, who else has had like the dope chemistry? You know what I mean? Like I think modern day chemistry, we've mentioned on previous episodes, like Gibbs and Madlib. Yeah, that's where I'm going. Gibbs and Madlib. I know we've mentioned that, like those have been my favorite project from Gibbs. Like he did work with Alchemist, but I really prefer him with Gibbs. I can't have a chemistry episode and not mention Common's beat. Like Common and Kanye have worked really well together, but also Common and No ID, you know, like with Resurrection, and even later in the game, after like a few albums after B, Common and No ID did Dream of the Believer. I love that album. That's my last like super favorite Common album.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I would say that. Renz, I know you're gonna feel me on this one. Bone and DJ Unique. You know, I felt like DJ Unique to Bone he was their RZA. So Wu got RZA, and Bone had Unique, and their best albums, if you look at the production, the constant is Unique. There, they had something there that resulted in in my opinion, their best output. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like, you know, it's over the years, you got some of the obvious ones like Eric B, Rakim, Gangstar, and Mobb Deep, right? And I mentioned Mobb Deep because I was really going through their catalog in the last few weeks, so I just, you know, wanted to throw them in there. And Brandon, you know, the conversation we were having a few weeks ago in the voice notes, you know what I mean, about Mobb Deep. So just you know, Havoc, and the thing is, it's not just Havoc producing for Prodigy; he's rapping on his stuff too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I would definitely say that. But so here's the other thing that comes to mind, right? So we know, you know, what we kind of feel like, you know, what establishes chemistry, what some of our favorites are, right? But at this point in the game, who haven't we seen, you know, get together? Or maybe they only got together like once and we were like, yo, why don't they keep working together? You know what I mean? Like, you know, I would say, like, let me see. Well, my favorite example was Ja Rule, Chris Webber. You probably saw that in the email, right? Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Never.
You gotta tell me about Ja Rule and Chris Webber.
Oh man. Oh God. All right. So let me start. So Blunt Ashes on the Nas was it Hip Hop Is Dead?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hip Hop Is Dead. Yeah.
Good Lord. So I'm sorry. Nah. I'm about to get my Stephen A. Smith on. Out of everybody, you call Chris Webber to do your beat. The power forward for the Sacramento Kings. And Havoc is your neighborhood friend. Havoc of Mobb Deep. Like, don't get me started, man. But Blunt Ashes to me, it was okay. It wasn't terrible.
It wasn't bad.
But would you say it's right, like your least favorite beat, like maybe possibly on that album? Like, would you say
absolutely.
Before you knew it was Chris Webber? Like, did you know it was Chris Webber because you were like, who the hell produced this? Or did you hate it when you were like, what the hell's this NBA player doing on the boards? Like,
y'all don't know what I'm reliving right now. Listen,
all I'm gonna say is it adds to the myth that Nas can't pick beats. And I say myth, internet myth. It just adds. Because I'm like, why? Why is this 2K dude? Why 2K power forward player on Hip Hop Is Dead?
Wyldfyer, you didn't cross paths with like Chris Webber or anything during those sessions?
I'm not in the session. No, I saw him at the after party. The funny thing is, people used to tell me I favored him when he grew hair, and I was like, really? I can tell you that they had I don't know now, but at the time they had a personal relationship. So, you know, I don't think it's a case where Chris Webber randomly sent in beats and I was just like, yo, this is it. They had a personal relationship.
Right.
So I don't remember all the details, but that's definitely how it went down.
Well, Chris Webber
speaking of Nas,
Naughty by Nature.
Let's jump in real quick. Speaking of Nas, you know, I didn't realize till today that you produced Death Anniversary. So that was my introduction.
I'll be forgetting I produced that sometimes.
I
didn't know that. I didn't know that, yo.
Really?
LimeWire days.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So I remember listening to it, and I was like, "Oh, this is a nice grad." I had no idea it was you. I mean, I knew, but you know, I was a Black Republican and Money Over Bullshit. But Death Anniversary, and when I was looking at the wiki, I'm like, "Damn!" Like, all right,
that's an A1.
And then it goes back. Then it goes back to your range, you know, as far as not everything sounding different. Now, was that one? Right. Now, I know you say you worked with Nas personally. Mm-hmm. Was that maybe one of the sessions then, or was that for a different, you know, production?
Yeah, no, that wasn't. Yo, that beat is kind of interesting. So that was kind of I didn't really like that beat. It just kind of just came out one day. I had just got a new guitar, and I had got a new wire and plugged it in to the computer and was just doing some different things. And then that little riff just kind of came out of nowhere. And then, you know, kind of added the I don't know if you call them stabs, dun, 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 and it just came out. I don't even know where it came from. I was just kind of doing like let me just try something with this new guitar, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, at the time, I would just send stuff to LES. I was like, yo, what do you think about this joint? He's like, yo, that's kind of high. And I don't remember the story on that one, if Nas heard it while he's playing it or he sent it, but he heard that joint, loved it. And I was like, word? Like, I feel like I always, you know, I'm very fortunate and blessed, but to be honest with you, like my favorite beats don't typically be the ones they pick. So when he picked that one, I'm like, nah. Let's send something else. I wanted to. My favorite Nas is Nasty Nas, and so you know, Street Thieves theme. You know, look, you know what I'm saying. And to get ahead of myself, I feel like that's the one thing that he's missing on all the hip hop joints. You don't got that street record.
Yeah,
You got so all the projects are dope though, but people have asked me my opinion. That's the only thing I'm hearing missing, and I miss that. It's just a nasty, grimy break beat where he's just talking about some crazy stuff in and out. You like, wow. Anyway, I wasn't
Locomotive Nas from Life is Good. You know, kind of like, or even further back. You know?
Well, we were speaking offline, Wyatt and I, and we were saying like, you know, Hit Boy got him in a zone right now where it's like it's a nice zone, but it's not the nasty zone. It's a different zone.
It's the grown. It's like the late career because he sounds inspired. Yeah, he sounds inspired
right now. You know, I mean, he's an investor. He's very successful. He ain't got nothing to prove to nobody. You know, just because I want to hear some grimy, who am I? You know what I'm saying? Everybody grown now, but you know, every now and then you just kind of want to hear that filth. You know what I'm saying? That damn.
Yeah.
You know, but you know. People
you don't always want to hear cryptocurrency Scarface, as he says.
Oh man.
Yeah, but he's wrapping up like the transition. I get it. Yeah. So, but long story short, that was the whole Chris Webber thing. So when I typed that in there, I was just like, I want to see if they noticed it. You know what I'm saying? So, and then when they said they sent it to you, I don't know if you had caught it, but yeah, that was like an inside joke. But basically, like, you know what I'm saying, you know what you like in terms of chemistry, you know who you've liked, who do you like that just you would love to see like get together more, or just possibly for the first time, maybe they do an EP or just songs here and there. Who do you feel maybe are like denying themselves, you know, great music?
Yo, going back to the past, I actually tried to link Odyssey and Nas back in the day. So Odyssey don't know Wyldfyer, but he might know me by my government name. But I had a homeboy who was working with him, so he used to send him beats.
With who? I didn't hear.
Huh?
With who?
Odyssey.
Oh, Odyssey. Okay, Odyssey. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, like a lot of cats don't know. Like he's in my DNA. Like listen to him and how he just will program the swing on drums and like the dirt. It sounded like it come from analog equipment. I think he was using ASR 10. But one of my homeboys raps, and they formed a relationship, and so he used to send them beats and stuff. And so I used to listen to his beats and be like, dang, I gotta find a way to kind of like step my game up. This is, who knows when this was. This is before I even got my first placement. But then once I actually formed a relationship with LES and then with Nas, I was like, yo, I would love to hear Nas on an Odyssey beat. And so I try to link them up. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if the middleman got in the way. It obviously didn't happen, but that would have been crazy. To me, that would have been one of the best. Like, just like Nas or Jay on a Dilla beat. One of the things I did for my demo back in 2004 is, a lot of people remix the Black Album. And there's beats that, there's versions of that I did. And I put Jay's vocals over some Dilla tracks. And actually the one I ended up using for the finished project was I think it was a YG beat. And so, and I just put it on it just to do a mashup. You know what I'm saying? So it's like Jay rapping, I think is a Moment of Clarity. Is that Thank God for Grant? Yeah, Moment of Clarity.
Yeah. That's the one Eminem originally produced.
YG beat, you know what I'm saying? So it worked out. So I guess in a sense, more mainstream rappers or lyricists on that grimy street underground sound. It's kind of like the juxtaposition of the two has always been intriguing to me. You know what I'm saying?
You like that contrast. It's like a satisfying contrast. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But wow, Nas and Odyssey, I can see that one. Nas and Odyssey. That one I could definitely see working.
Yeah. For sure.
What about you guys? Like, who do you guys think who's like missing the moment right now of that they should work together, like because they never have, or they've maybe worked together like once and they should work together like 10 more times? Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, so it's interesting that he brought up Odyssey, And I feel like we were talking about Odyssey maybe like 10 years ago, maybe. If it feels like Little Brother, Diamond District, the whole like low budget, Kev Brown. Man, it's a whole movement that had going on, still going on. DMV cats. So I would just say like more. This question was hard for me to answer. I would just like to see more of the DMV guys just like working together, because it seems like Little Brother just took their turn, went their direction. Odyssey went his direction. Kev Brown went his direction. It's so many art median. I mean, they got their own little like Wu-Tang. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just a lot of guys, like hella. Like I can't name them all. You know what I mean? Yep. So I would just love to see more of the DMV just getting started again, like on that low budget backpack, type of vibe. You know what I mean? Because they had a nice little run, and Ninth Wonder too. He's North Carolina, but he had a whole lot to do with that crisis. There's so many tentacles,
Yeah. No, that's interesting. You point out a whole region. Like, yeah, no, that's. No, he went left. I like that. He went left. He picked a whole region, a region that doesn't get mentioned as much. Like sometimes we say like East, like Midwest and stuff. Some people who are not here will think that the DMV and the East, they'll bucket it together, but it's really two different vibes. You know what I'm saying? Easily.
Yeah, sonically, culturally, yeah.
Before Renz goes, real quick, I was at a Wale show Sunday. Like I got tickets to. He was at the Fillmore, and I haven't seen Wale in a long time, probably since the Roots Picnic. And like Wale had to literally get up on stage and be like, "Yo, I'm from DC. Y'all know DC ain't 2 hours, but 2 hours from Philly." But it's just like, wow, like it's been that quiet right now with DC and the DMV right now for the powers that be. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was a reminder, like, man, we need to get some action out of that set of the country.
I think Cole took it, right? Cole's kind of like the face of it on the mainstream, kind of, because he's North Carolina. I don't know. I may be failing geography right now, but
Cole.
He's
probably from 5-6 hours away from DC.
Yeah. So, but go ahead, Rez. My bad, bro.
Yeah, what I was thinking about in Wyldfyer, it's funny how you mentioned you talk about the mainstream, get more with the indie gutter sound. One thing, and it hit me like last night, because I was talking about Q earlier with Bond Squad, but it hit me like, because we heard Q's last few albums is more the G-Funk, not so much of the gutter boom bap, but like for whatever reason, I could see him matching very well with Apollo Brown. I think that's real love. But I mean, I'm thinking about old Q before we got into more of the G-Funk West Coast, but that type of sound, and like if he went back to like America's Most Wanted, that certificate vibe with Apollo Brown, even if it's like an EP, even let's just say we're going to knock out 9-10 tracks, call it a day. I think they will have a nice pairing together. Because his voice, his voice takes charge, and I think it just blends perfectly, with that. So that's something that came to mind. And then one other thing came to mind, Ray, you mentioned Bone. And how my break with them Bones, since the Unique not being around, them not getting that proper sound, that proper chemistry. I always felt, and then we talked about it, even prior to the podcast, I always felt like let Crit do the production.
Love Crit.
He's so Crit to me, so you forget how versatile a producer he is, because he can hit you with the boom bap, so he can hit you with the real Southern and everything in between. I just think, especially with the melodic stuff, I think
he can get real bluesy with it. Yeah,
bluesy. I think they can go on a nice fresh sound. Bone can still get busy. He just said you hear their production, it's like I can't really listen to this.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So somebody like a Crit, like we even talked about before, even they got with some of the TDE producers, and Soundwave and all that, it would just mesh so well. But because we hear like when you talk about like Kendrick early and everything else, you hear Bone influence a lot of these guys, ASAP, all of them, but they got the production to back it up. Bone, for whatever reason, are just using the Chris Webber's production right now.
I knew it was coming.
And I heard, I like blunt ashes.
He said them albums been nothing but a bunch of blunt ashes.
I like blunt.
I thought I mean, it was the greatest track. I didn't think it was a attraction.
I like it too, but it's just comedic gold. And Brandon's like, hell no. When it comes to that, he's like,
exactly.
Oh, no.
Damn, you see Web.
Oh, a piece of C-Web though.
Yep. You know, and Renz, I don't know if you had any more. I don't want to like.
Oh no, I want to. You know, we can go all day, all night about this. So no, by all means.
So you know who I would like to see. I may have mentioned this in a previous episode. I think because of his the way the type of lyricist he is. Absol. By the way, I know you've clearly worked with TDE, Wyldfyer. I'm an
everybody
Absol.
except Absol.
Yeah. You
Oh.
gotta get beats to him. Absol.
I want to work with Absol so bad, bro. I don't bother punch about it. I don't really, because my biggest downfall in the music industry, I don't like bothering people. But he's the only one of the Black Hippie I haven't worked with. And I'm just like, I did send some joints, so you never know.
Okay, all right.
You know what I mean?
So, and when you send joints, right?
Yeah.
Like, and this could be, you could have sent them joints. Let's just make up numbers. Like 3 years ago, right? If he was to drop an album later this year, like there's like one of your joints could appear on it, right? You could have sent him something way back, and one of your joints he could just like, all right, I'm putting out the album now, but I'm using one of your beats. It could be something like that. Okay.
Unfortunately, so that's why like a lot of people back when people were doing more interviews, I would always say like these cats is like, yeah, I'm working with such and such, working with such and such, and you were like, oh, they're about to blow. I never do that because if I tell you everybody that I have music with and it hasn't come out, it may never come out, it may still come out. I mean, I got joints with Kendrick, I got joints with Jay-Z, I got joints with Lil Wayne, I got joints with Nas, obviously. I mean, me and Kendrick have a song called, I'm trying to think, it's either called Mad City or Good Kid. It's called one of those two. You know what I'm saying? We actually have a song, you know what I'm saying?
Before the album.
Before that,
yeah, because he went with one of those titles, I think, on one of the songs, right? Yeah, I think he had
Mad City, I think, yeah.
I mean, so you have joints with people, and like I said before, it's like 10 different things that have to happen for that to actually be on the album. And I mean, J. Cole said on his new album, he actually said on one of the songs that Eve sent him a beat years ago, and he said he just wasn't ready for it, and sometimes you gotta sit on things. When he came around and made the off season,
Applying
for whatever reason, it hit him. Is it applying pressure?
Yep.
And that beat's hot too. So it's like they'll sit on something because it may not fit the vibe today, or a lot of different reasons. I sit on samples. Sometimes I'm like, can't do nothing with that. And literally, like I just opened up some samples that Focus sent us a couple years ago, and I made like 9 beats. I was like, oh, these just didn't sound the same back in the day.
Yeah, it's like you stepped away, came back, and somehow you had a different set of ears for it this go around. Yeah, that's wild how that works, man. Damn.
Yeah, so they'll put something out. They could be sitting on it for a long time, but it's new to the world once they do. But you don't know they're not going to use it until the album comes out. But that don't mean that they're not going to use it for the next album.
Yeah.
Right.
I got a joint. Raekwon's been holding for a long time.
You said you got a joint with Raekwon. My bad, the camera had froze. You said Raekwon?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yep. And every few years, I hit up my man Blue, who's a direct connect, and he's like, yeah, he still love that joint. Cool. Cool, man.
That's as far as you can take it, right? That's
as
far as,
Cool. So,
and I can understand, like, you don't want to be like, you want to keep that relationship. So like, it seems like ideally you don't want like to push, you know what I mean? Like you want to keep the relationship. So that makes sense. You're playing it cool. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely. And the only thing is if it's a beat you really like, then it's kind of like, man, you really got to weigh your options. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you just say, you know what? I ain't heard nothing about this, or they didn't pay me or whatever. I'm just going to put it out. That's a fear of mine. That's one of the main reasons why people have been pushing me to put out an album myself. And that's one of the main reasons why, because I'm like, if I do, that's going to be when I get a call from somebody like, yo, I was going to use it, right? Oh, you going to sell 50 million too? Darn it. You know what I'm saying?
That's always how it is. If you're not doing anything with it, it's nothing happens. The minute you go, oh, wait.
I mean, that's what happened. We going to make it. I mean, Razkaz had that beat. Yeah. And we saw, I mean, granted, everything worked out, but like to hear Jadakiss, like, wait a minute, that was my song, And so
Alchemist, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but I would say I'm glad that Absol came up here. Absol's my favorite TDE rapper. But I hope whatever you sent them, like I'm waiting for him to just drop already. He's been taking too long. All the TD's been taking forever to drop, like the heavy hitters, you know. But I would say it, you know, like definitely I want him to use what you sent them. I would say Absol also in Madlib. I think those styles would mesh well together. I would like to hear Ludacris and Hit Boy. They haven't done like anything together. Denzel Curry and Timbaland. You got when I've listened to some of those Denzel Curry, like he has very knocking beats, and I think Timbaland would be a good fit there. And then Renzo, I was kind of inspired by the last Devin the Dude album. I wouldn't mind seeing Devin the Dude with Thundercat. I would say that.
Okay.
So I tried to go very like unconventional, but that in my ears, like on paper, it would work because I can understand sometimes something on paper versus how it may come out may not always, you know, be what we thought. But those are the ones that like on paper, I'm like, if I saw it on a track listing, this project coming soon, I'd probably jump to those first, like on you know, like press and play and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you know what? Let me kick it up a notch then, right? So I know you've gotten work out to different people. Who would you love to produce? Like if you could snap your fingers and produce an entire project, right? I know you like we'll just say maybe modern day or, you know, or however you want to answer it. Who would you produce an entire project for? Like all 30 names, just hit them at once. Like, who would you like to be the hit boy to somebody's Nas?
So I have an answer because I thought about it, but it's kind of like now there's like, okay, there's some qualifying statements in there. So I always wanted to do a whole album with Hov. Who wouldn't, right?
Wow.
Because I feel like based on what he explained, you know, what motivates him really fit the sound that I had, especially, you know, 10 years ago or so. You know, like he said, big strings, he's telling stories. You know what I'm saying? And things like that. And that's the kind of sound I had, kind of tempos I used and all those things. So I'll say it would have been Hov, but now, you know, kind of boring, but, you know, I would want to do a whole album with Kendrick because I feel like as an artist, he is what I am as a producer in a sense of not one style. Like one of the things that, you know, you mentioned was you heard my stuff and nothing sound like the same. And literally that was one of my goals. Like if I had to have a business plan written on a whiteboard, one of my goals is always never sound the same. And, you know, I never really got into this for the money. You know, I always wanted to just share what I think is a gift, you know, with folks. And the goal is how I want to conquer the game back when it was still possible. I was like, I want to have like 3, 4, 5 records out. And then cats just like, who produced that? Wyldfyer. Okay, cool. Who produced that trap joint? Wyldfyer. Oh, okay. Yo, who produced that acoustic piano joint? Yo, you know what I'm saying? Like have a whole bunch of different sounds and all be for me. And then cats be like, dang, that dude is crazy. And then I always figured that is then when you'll get a whole project. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, I'm not going to give you just 12 trap beats or 12 break beats. You know what I'm saying? We can do a whole well-rounded album based on a lot of different sounds, all of which I can create. You know,
well, your catalog already, well, not already, but to date, you look back, you know, Discography, Wiki, you can you can see the diversity of artists and the canvas. Like you said, the sound canvas is all different. Right. And none of your beats sound alike. You can't, I mean, like shout out to Premier and Rock and stuff. Like you could tell that, you know, when they have
a signature.
When that Pete Horn or that Primo synth.
Right.
For you, it's the opposite. It's like, nah, there is no signature. You know what I mean?
Dude, I made I make like different playlists and they'll never be done. But I have like I made just to really hear what you produced that's actually available to stream, which is a good chunk. And that was what I know. I was just like, you don't have 2 beats that sound like, even when you were on the Chino joint, which you got I think 4 or 5 joints on that.
Yeah. Like 8 or 12. He used a lot of beats. I was like, yo, okay.
Oh, you got 12 on there?
I'm exaggerating, but it's like
Yeah, she
5,
knows show
6,
love.
7.
She knows show love on me.
Yeah, because I know that's like
Yeah.
it's a double project. And honestly, I went through your Wikipedia. I don't know, like if you made the Wikipedia or somebody made it, so I don't know
I
how
have
up
no
to date
idea
it
who
is.
made that, dude. To this day, I don't know who made it.
Chris
All I
Webber.
know is-
Chris Webber.
Yo,
the
so
good
that
hash?
episode is gonna be like this page is missing. He hating on all of us.
Somebody put me on there. Somebody said I was signed to Dreamville. If you Google me right now,
I saw
it
that
actually
too.
has me.
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah.
Bro, I was like, yo, whoever's doing this, y'all gonna mess me up because I'm working with some of the artists and they're gonna think I'm out here trying to like claim them or flex. Sure, I love to sign to Dreamville, but I'm not signed to Dreamville. But I'm just like, who put that out there? Like, how does that become something that somebody does? You know, it's just weird. So
yeah, because they like Wikipedia is just too open. Like, you know, like
yeah, Wikipedia. I don't know who did it. Thank you. I have gone in and tweaked some stuff before. But somebody else, like somebody wrote a bio.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a whole few paragraphs in there. Like,
Right.
so I thought you might have made your own. I was like, let me ask him, you know, like.
No, I don't know. It's been years now. I don't know who did it. It's open. You can go in there and be like, F Wyldfyer right now. Maybe like, dang. So shout out to whoever did that. You know what I mean? Appreciate it. Let's get some more joints on there.
Yeah,
and that was where I went for your music, just to create the playlist. Like that's the only. Oh, you know what, Brandon? You gave me a good idea. I got to check out like Discogs.
Yeah, Discogs is the official one. But yo, I had another pick here. I don't know. At this point, I feel like we're just going out of turn. But Nas and Havoc. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand, especially with Prodigy being gone now. There's literally and I love the Damage Records, the Styles P.
The EP they put out.
Yeah. That's big up, love, respect to that. I love both entities with D Block and Mobb Deep coming together. But I mean, dude, Nas is generally basically the next best thing that we could hear over a Havoc beat, other than Prodigy. And I never understood how they just don't collab enough.
Oh, you want to see them? You want to hear them like more? Like, yo, once Nas is done with this Hit Boy stuff, yo, lock some time in with Havoc and stuff. Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, and I know they collab frequently. If we look up the stats, it's probably, I don't know, maybe probably every 5 years they probably got a song or two every 5 years. So it's not like they're not working together. But I would love to see more from them too, personally.
Yeah.
Maybe the Alchemist can sneak in there and
ALC.
throw some in there.
Hell yeah, for sure.
What's it go? What Renz, you got anybody similar to like Brandon saying, yo, Nas and Havoc need to get back together?
As far as back together?
Yeah. What would you like to see?
Somebody I was gonna mention earlier for projects, but I wanted to save it to back together. I want to see David Banner and Ninth get back together. I knew we were talking about Ninth earlier, but definitely a pop star. I thought was such a phenomenal project. Very short, very sweet, and I think it introduced David Banner. Yeah, and I like that project a lot because it introduced David Banner to an audience who thought David Banner wasn't about that lane, that style. Right. You know, as far as more we knew David was conscious, but before that's too much trap, that's too much crunk. We're not dealing with it. Now you hear him on more boom bap, more soulful production, and
to the light.
He actually got something to say, which we knew, but maybe the backpackers, whoever like, not the band. But I would love they talked about doing the album again, but I think at that time they were talking about like the whole sampling and stuff, and just how much money they were physically putting out on their own, given that they're both independent.
I love that project, man. I'm glad you said that one. Yeah, I would love for them to do a sequel.
Yeah, I definitely want to see them back together at some point. And there was somebody else. Oh, it was on tip of my tongue. Maybe I have the notes down. It was on tip of my tongue earlier too. It's funny you mentioned the Nas Havoc. That would have been a nice one.
I mean, listen, everybody that was on Illmatic, hello. But for me, Havoc wasn't on Illmatic.
Yeah, he comes around the second album.
Yeah.
But any of those guys, I would love to see.
What I think the issue is too, and I look at example with Snoop and Dre. I think with certain artists, certain producers, you kind of get typecast to a sound. Then where now if you don't do that, this is not the same thing. Like it took Snoop to almost get to Pharrell for people to say, Snoop still got it. Snoop can still make a dope album. I think with people like Nas, people like Jay, where it's like, I can do that, but I'm trying to also evolve. So it's like you're trying to balance it. I think he has a nice pocket with Hit Boy now because he can kind of dip a little bit. Because Magic, that's probably the closest to Nasty Nas we've seen. You know, not maybe the version we want, but the closest we've seen. Since, I mean, even look like somebody like Merge. Like a lot of people won't listen to Merge if it's not with Knife Wonder.
True.
You know,
True.
And so they're like, I like Merge, but I don't like what, you know, with this producer or that producer or whatever. So I think you kind of run into that. Like I know, like when we were talking about Gibbs and Mad Lib, how y'all was saying that I wasn't really listening to Gibbs to that with Mad Lib. You know, and I think Gibbs got a lot of good projects, but I can see how, you know,
I'm in that boat too. I don't listen to Freddie Gibbs without Mad Lib. I'm in that boat.
Yeah. Because, you know, I think Gibbs is so versatile where to the point where, you know, especially you don't like trap like that, you know, I don't want to listen to trap Gibbs. I want to listen to boom back Gibbs.
Me,
you know, and everything. So I think that's what happened with some artists like
Ray's anti-trap everything.
I'm a big trap hater. Like for me to say a trap beat was dope says a lot because a lot of it is repetitive. A lot of like hi-hats, the like everything sounds repetitive. So when I hear a trap beat that stands out, like I will give it credit, but I'm otherwise I'm a trap hater.
Speaking of Ninth, I would love to see a Crit and Ninth Wonder project. I remember when the King Remember Time project and the Ninth had that one beat. I'm like, where's it at?
Yo,
where's it at? Cough it up.
All right. I got a hot take.
I know where this is going.
Ninth Wonder is my man. Man, he's a young OG. I haven't heard nothing good from Ninth Wonder since Little Brother broke up. I'm sorry.
Wow. I'm not the biggest Ninth guy, but I've liked Soul Council. I got to be honest, and I know that's not just him.
More
that's like him, Crisis. That's when they got the whole committee going.
The beats ain't been hitting for a while. It's like I'm gonna say good 4 or 5 years. I don't. It's just not. And I get it. Like his systematic sound might have changed. You know why? How do you feel about Ninth Wonder? Because it's lackluster, man, for me.
He's like, damn, why you?
He's like,
Case closed. Case closed. Case closed. He's like, I ain't trying to ruffle no feathers.
I don't know. They can't beat me. They can't beat me. I don't care. I love the way Ninth, like the way he, like some of the stuff I'm going back and listen to the samples he's using. I'm like, yo, this kid's crazy with the chopping and the filter and all that kind of stuff like that. There was a point, and I don't know if it was an equipment thing or what. Maybe he would actually tell you. I heard he used to use Fruity Loops.
Yeah, that's the story.
I used to use Fruity Loops, so that's not even a thing. But and then I've seen him on a MPC, and I will say this: it was a time when the drums just wasn't slapping for whatever reason. But then that changed. So maybe it's even something that he would explain. Maybe it was a different snare he was using at the time. It was soulful and stuff, but it wasn't like that snare didn't hit and that kick didn't hit. Or maybe it's a difference of having to be compressed versus not compressed. Something changed, and actually it got harder. And so my favorite Ninth, actually, I like the Ninth stuff that he did for Kendrick, but my favorite Ninth Wonder beat, ironically, is on Theater of the Mind. That Do the Right Thing.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Very colorful. Very colorful.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So other than that, I mean, I haven't really been keeping up with what he produced. So I would have to kind of go check some stuff. But yeah, I mean,
And it's funny you guys mentioned Ninth because I remember Ninth made a video years ago, like basically like pleading to work with Nas. And
easy.
Yeah. But like in this video, it's like I think they titled it like Beat for Nas. And we're talking to you, and you've gotten like at least 5 to 10 beats to Nas already.
How about that?
Like that, you know what I mean? That's I think that's not necessarily to shit on Ninth. I'm just saying that's I think that says something. That's got to feel like good. Like, damn, I got beats to Nas, and there's other people. People know Ninth, right? And he's still trying to get one to Nas. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So he's never worked with Nas.
No.
Not to date. That's been a release at least.
He just did like the remix, right? Didn't he do the God Stepson or something like that? Like
yeah.
But that's just like the acapellas, and he reproduced it.
Yeah.
Like
Yo, I don't know how much we got on time. I know we got to get out of here soon, but I got a bonus round for y'all. If y'all ready.
All right.
So over under Well, the Super Bowl halftime show with the Dr. Dre and Friends halftime show with Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, Snoop D-O-Double. Who knows else might come through? Will that be better than the game itself?
I hope
what y'all got?
See, my answer is I want it to be. I think it'll be on par with the game. I think we'll get a good Super Bowl, and I think it'll be a great. Like my bias is because when's the last time we got like a real hip hop show like this? I mean, Missy, she's hip hop, but she sings too. But we're gonna have literal Crips on Crip on stage. You know what I'm saying? So I think it'll be.
First of all,
yeah, I think it'll be good.
That's dope. We're about to have a Crip on stage at the Super Bowl. I mean, that's by itself.
Come on.
Like, I'm not a Crip, but I'm just saying, like, that's kind of dope.
That's progress.
My thing is this. Gangsta music. Are they going to do gangsta music? Are they going to do new stuff? What do y'all
I feel
think
like they're going to be
do?
mostly older stuff, but I wouldn't be surprised they do maybe a new Kendrick, possibly. I wouldn't be surprised.
I want sexual eruption Snoop. I want, I want as a doggy dog world Snoop. You know what I mean? what about you, B-Stack? Do you think it's by default? You have it in your head, the Super Bowl ain't gonna compare to the halftime show?
Yes, I think that we hope for a good game, hope for a competitive game, but I just feel like people gonna be tuning in on at halftime, and that's gonna be the zenith of the night. And, once, because I got a love-hate relationship with the NFL, man. With their practices and culture credence, I say. Mm-hmm. But once I found out that Dr. Dre was on board, man, in the doc we trust. You know what I'm saying? Because he don't move for nothing.
Yeah. And he's not gonna do it if it ain't right.
No.
He putting his own money into the show. I think they put in almost like $10 million of his own money to make sure it's sonically, production, everything of his, liking. So I think it might, and also because it didn't help, the game we saw last week between Chiefs and the Bills. I don't know how you top that game, let alone
That's
Super Bowl.
Gonna be the toughest game.
That was a great playoffs, yo.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go with the halftime show now. I was just envisioning, like them doing some of the individual stuff. And the Snoop stuff we talked about, the Kendrick stuff we talked about. Dre's got a lifetime of catalogs. Mary's got great stuff. I'm not really a fan of that one song. I don't even know what it's called, but the one that Dre produced.
Mary J. Jones.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
That's a great.
Every time I cringe when I hear
they're gonna be doing a song though, but yeah, I
you know what I'm saying? But like, obviously, she's the queen, so she's not going to just do that song and be bopping around. She's gonna do her classics. So envisioning that, I'm like, yeah, Brando, that's gonna be hotter. I mean, if it's LA versus KC, it's gonna be a lot of offense. If it's San Francisco versus the Bengals, that's gonna be whack.
Dre's gonna be the first person. He's gonna wind up the same way he shelved Detox. He's gonna somehow manage to shove the halftime show. We're not gonna get it. They're just gonna cut to the Puppy Bowl. We're just not gonna get it.
Yo. Hey, but you know what? Shout out to Detox. A lot of cats don't know. Like, I got some stuff that I sent to Dre, and it's some stuff Dre was listened to and loved, and then told some other cats to get on. And eventually, one of them ended up being Average Joe. So,
wow.
So, and then we got a lot of good music that came out of that album never coming out, right? In the Club, and a lot of Snoop stuff, and some Eminem stuff. So.
Man, that's a crime, man. Yeah, but apparently he said in the interview that he didn't feel that Detox was up to the standard that he wanted. Right? We might love it. He might be like, nah, like I needed, But
I mentioned the game has changed in a way to where a lot of the cats from that era, what they've considered to be success, they wouldn't want to. Like he don't want to go gold. You know what I'm saying? Now gold will be success. There's only like 3 or 4 people that may go gold in the course of the year.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, if these cats are used to going diamond or 5 million, 6 million, the standards are different. They consider it a failure if they come out and don't sell $1 million in the first week. And unfortunately, all these benchmarks they've set for themselves, historically. So, and then it's like, what's really real these days? I'm not going to go on a tangent, but we have to do maybe, y'all have me back. We could talk about that one day. What's really real? Like beyond all the fake shit you see out there, like who's really hot? Who's really selling? you know, and then like, what does that sound like? You know, we go off of what's pushed to us. That sound is not really, you know, what a Dre is going to do. You know what I'm saying? And other folks like that. I mean, Eminem, y'all know how Eminem used to sell. Well, he probably still did well with his last few albums, but you know, compared to what's out now, it's kind of like, you tell me this little cat over here also him. You know what I'm saying?
That makes sense. Yeah.
The audience
is
different.
Yeah. Well, real life, he probably really didn't outsell him, but that's enough. Again, that's another story. But it's just so much smoke and mirrors now that if I was an artist from the era, I would say, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm not playing that game too. I would say, you know what, it's kind of hard to put it out logistically because it could be viewed as a success. It's almost like it's a no-win. Unless you play the game too. So,
so I'm gonna hit you with a final thought, and then it'll probably be it. You actually said something. I like a lot of your tweets on Twitter. You said something a while ago, and it always stayed with me. You said a lot of people say, "Oh, like if mainstream's not good, you should just go to like I'm paraphrasing here. You'll say it better. It was your thought. You said people will be like, oh, I don't like the mainstream. And then people will be like, go look for good music in the indie circuit. And that's where a lot of people leave that thought. But you went and added to it and said, but you got to stop and ask yourself, why is it that you now are forced to have to look for it in the independent underground versus what used to be presented to us was good? And you were the only person to ever say that, because I encounter a lot of hip hop snobs that say like, oh, well, it's independent. And, you know, like that's the end of the thought. You're the only one that challenged that and said, ask yourself why you have to do that. And I always loved that you said that. I retweeted it. I loved that thought because it's true. You know what I mean? It's not a generational, like, I just hate the young or whatever. I think the business model has changed in a way that we are where we are right now. But yo, Wyldfyer, thank you again for taking time out and just dropping these special stories, man. I can't thank you enough, man. I don't know if you want to drop any your handles is at Wyldfyer, everything, like your contacts or any upcoming projects people should be on the lookout for.
Yeah, I mean at Wyldfyer, WYLDFYER on Twitter. Man, I have an Instagram. I kind of got in the Instagram game late, but I think that's Wyldfyer_the truth. I'm not doing nothing else. I'm not doing no TikToks and that kind of stuff like that.
Yes, please don't do that.
Yeah, man. Just like, so I mean, essentially, it seems like mostly I'm working with, Dreamville and TDE. And, I'm happy with that as long as something can stick. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I could say who loves the beats and who's recorded something or whatever, but, you don't know what's what until it gets, you know what I'm saying? Until it just say this is the one, it's on the album, cut the check, all that good stuff. So, but and then I gotta get with one of these trap artists, because check that box, right? Because I do trap music.
Duke Deuce.
Oh, yes.
Exactly.
It's his year. It's his year. If you ain't know.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, man, just trying to get at any and everybody, man. And then at some point, I'm never gonna stop doing it, but start looking at some of this R&B, man, and some of these other cats out here and see if we can change their genre, so to speak.
Yeah. Hey, we got the artists for you, man. We talk offline. I got the artist. I got right what you need.
Show.
All right, yo. Again, thank you for taking time out to this. Love this episode. Thank you for sharing your stories, everybody. As always, one, you can find him at Wyldfyer. Primarily on the Twitter, you get a lot of good takes there. And as always, you can find us at Tres Leches Radio on everything you can imagine except TikTok. So with that said, we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
Friends out.